Alright, here we are. This is my last video for this year's Mystery Quilt Along. I hope you've had enjoyed this mystery this year. I am working on another one already. It's designed and my fabrics are chosen. I'll be starting to write that soon. It will start in January like each mystery I've done in the past does. So we had the last two videos. I showed how to put together block number 1, and I showed you how to put together block number 2. So this is block number 1, and this is block number 2. So now we're going to talk about how the parameters of how to put your body together and then what to do for borders. So the first thing you're going to do is, for the construction of the quilt top, you are going to make 6 across and 6 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you would need, for each row that we do, you will need 3 block 1s and 3 block 2s and sew them together. Okay, it's kind of hard for me to show you this, but let me see if I step back a little bit. So we would have 3 of these and 3 block 2s. Okay, and you would start with block 1 for the first row, then block 2, so forth and so on. So you would start here with a block 1, a block 2, block 1, block 2, block 1, block 2. So if you start the row with a block 1, you end the row with a block 2, and there's 3 of each of them in each row. The next row you would start with a block 2 and do a block 1, then 2, then 1, then 2, and finish with a 1. And you will alternate these rows till you've done all 18 blocks. Okay, so you need 18 of each, and then you would sew your rows together and making sure you're matching up your points and everything. I like to pin when I get into these longer rows. Now for the borders, for inner border, it says that you need to cut 8 strips of 3 inches wide by width of fabric. Sew 2 strips together. I did not sew the strips together on the diagonal. Okay, this is going to be a utility quilt for me, so I don't get anal about how my strips are going together. If it was going to be featured in a show or something, then maybe I would I would want to have enough fabric to make one long strip with no seams. But in this case, I have not allocated enough fabric to do a diagonal seam to put the strips together. So you would put together, you would need to do this and this orange border, you would need 2 strips of each to go around. I like to sew my side ones first, okay, and then my top and bottom. I did not miter these corners. Again, there's not enough fabric to do mitering. So when I measure, once the body is done, I like to measure down the center. If I'm putting these 2 strips together, I like to measure down the center and cut those strips, whatever length in inches that length is from the top to the bottom. And then I would sew on pinning, and if there's any fullness, so I would find the center of the border, the center of the body of the quilt, pin those together, then pin the raw edges on either side together, and then I would pin in intervals down the length of the border, making sure that I keep the fullness where I want it. And then again, that trick with the feed dogs, I would put the larger size, a larger length against the feed dogs, and I have spread that fullness out if there is any fullness. I do the same thing for the other border. To do the top and the bottom of your inner border, I would measure, including these borders, because they've been put on, I'd lay this quilt out and I would measure from this edge all the way out to this edge, and I would cut my strip to that. And again, I would find the center of the body, center of the strip, match up the raw edges and pin those, and then pin in intervals, making sure whatever fullness is down, spread across evenly. And then I will put the larger fabric that has the most fullness down against the feed dogs and let the feed dogs do its work to sew them together. Now, for the outer border, that was the inner border. Now for the outer border. Outer border, you need 9 strips of 5.5 inches wide. Cut 1 strip in half. So 2 strips together for each of the 2 sides borders, and follow the steps of the inner border. For the top and bottom borders, sew together 2.5 strips together, again following the strips of the inner borders. This is the, okay, so that's it. And then you would measure from here to here. If you're doing the sides, just like you did with the inner border, you would measure this length, the body, down the center, just down the center. Don't worry about these measurements out here, because chances are they're going to be too big. They're going to be longer, because most of the time your quilt goes like this, kind of does a curve. Okay, so you want that longest length, and then you're gonna, or this might be smaller, it might go this way, and these outer edges, yeah, that's, sorry, you're okay, I don't know what time it is. It is really late at night and I'm not thinking straight. So normally 99% of the time your outer edges of your quilt will be longer than the center measurement. Okay, so it would go like this. It would kind of make these corners longer, and you want to square that up. So you need to measure always down the center. And then you would put this border on and this border by measuring down, cut those to the whatever length your quilt will be, and then you will put the side borders on, and then you would measure from here to here to put the top and bottom borders on. So you would do it exactly the same way as I explained to the border, the other borders. If you have any questions, you're more than free to contact me and ask how to do ask your questions and stuff. But I hope that you enjoy putting this quilt together. And like I said, I will be launching a new one in January of 2022. And I hope that a lot of you will join in and participate in that next mystery quilt. So we'll see you the next time. Do not hesitate if you are not sure about anything, or you're having any problems, or you don't understand something because I might not have written it correctly, or even verbally explained things. I might have made and confused you even more. I hope I didn't, especially where the borders are concerned. I am planning to do a video tutorial showing step by step how I physically put these borders together. It might be a series, a small little series, because I like to keep my videos small. So we'll see you soon, and we'll talk again, and don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. Bye, and happy quilting.